On this video, I just want to clarify some of the basic scalping methods. Now, on the first video, we shown you the make market, and this is what we advise you look at when you first start scalping. Now, if you've already watched the videos on how to set Bet Angel up, and the first couple of videos, you will have seen that we introduce you to the make market. And the idea of this is that you're looking for a static line on the micro chart, so no activity. If you look at I just know here, you'll see it's quite erratic. It's going up, it's coming down, and that is not a static line. If you look at Dutch Canyon, which is the second favourite, you'll see it started as a static line and the price increased and decreased and it's becoming static again. So this could be an ideal opportunity for a make market trade. Now when you click make market, a scalp is placed. There's a trade placed on the back bet side and on the lay side, and the idea is because it's a static line, there's not a great deal of activity, so gradually your trade will get taken on either side. So it will get taken on the back bet and the lay bet, and over time it will reduce and your trades will get taken and you'll make a profit between those two price points. It's quite simple. Now by using make market, it introduces you to how scalping works and how the market works and how liquidity is reduced on either side. So if you look on the ladder, for example, you'll see I'm actually already in a profit there. I've just done a quick trade. If a lay bet is placed and a back bet is placed, the profit is made, as I've already explained, between those two price points. So on a static market, because the price is not increasing and it's not decreasing, because it's not doing that, then either side of the price point, the liquidity is going to get eroded away. It's going to get eaten away as more money enters the market, and the idea is then you make a tick between the 2 points. And this is exactly what I've done here. I placed one trade on the back bet, one trade on the lay side, and the actual market took both of them quite quickly. So this is what we advise, just to become familiarised with how scalping works and how the markets react to you placing your trades on the back bet, on the lay bet. And by doing this, the make market does this for you. If you do this manually, you would have to place a trade on the back bet and then a separate trade on the lay bet side, but the make market does that for you. So that's really an introduction to the scalping. Now, as you become familiar, what we advise is to actually trade manually and watch the liquidity enter in the market, watch the candle charts and see what the positions are. Look for resistance points, which I explained on other videos, and then look for the entry points which are decided upon by the liquidity entering the market. For example, one of the main points I look for, one of the main triggers I look for, is resistance points. Now if I get the ladder for the first favourite, you'll see it started at 3.2 and that was quite a few minutes ago, and it actually became static. It rose slightly to its highest point and then it steamed down to below 2.9 and then drifted upwards again. It's found a position there, 310? Well, it's 3.05 now. It's fairly static, that, but we look for that. But if, for example, this price was to rise now to, let's say, 3.3, which would be a point that it's never reached before, well, it's reached it once, but it's actually the highest point it's been, I would be looking, as far as trading is concerned, at that price dropping, because it's the favourite horse, and 5 to 10 minutes before the start of the race, all the gamblers and mug punters, that as we call them, start entering the fold and placing their money. And they're going to place their money based on what they've read in the newspapers, the commentary. I've mentioned this before, but people are directed by so-called professionals. And so people will read the newspaper and think, well, obviously these tipsters know what they're talking about, so I'm going to place my money on this favourite. And 9 times out of 10, they'll place it on their favourite to win. Which is why, if the price is at the highest point it's ever been, and for the last 5-10 minutes people start placing their bets on the horse to win, then the price can only drop. So I call this a resistance point because it's never reached it before, and with it being the favourite, chances are the price is going to drop because more people are entering the marketplace in that final 5-10 minutes, looking to make a profit based on what they've read or heard elsewhere. Now, something else you can do, and I do this quite regularly. Now, I've mentioned using the candle chart. Obviously the candle chart's here on the main page, but what I like to do is bring up a separate candle chart and zoom all the way in. Now if you zoom all the way in, you can actually see where the price started at. and it gives a more in-depth view of the price changes, whether it's gone up, whether it's drifted, or whether it's steamed down. And it gives you an idea of where resisting points have been, the highest point the horse has been and the lowest point the horse has been. So you can see on this one, at some stage over the last hour or so, it reached below 2.9, and now obviously it's about 310 and it's become static there. Now this information is critical really. Also, if you get the second favourite up, just to compare, just let me get that up, and then if you see this minus symbol on the software, if you click that all the way in, you'll see this particular second favourite started much lower in price, maybe 7.2, 7.4, and then steamed up dramatically and reached a point of about 11. Now that's interesting, because when the odds are compiled, and they're compiled the night before, the majority of the information you can read is based on previous form, how the horse has performed previously, its previous results, and this is how odds compilers gain a picture of the chances of this horse winning the next race. So the odds on this second favourite started about 7.4, so for whatever reason that's drifted up, and then it's reached a point of about 11. So there's a great possibility here that in the last 5-10 minutes that the price will steam down. So it's also worth watching both candle charts even at the same time, just to compare. And I generally only look at the first two favourites to do this, especially if they're quite close in price, because more often than not they're actually being traded against each other. The horses are being traded against each other, so one can actually drift up considerably and the second favourite can steam down, because it's working in tandem in a lot of situations. So you can actually play one off against the other. Now you can see this race has gone in play, which on the basic scalping we're not advising you to use it in play, but on this situation I cannot lose here. You see, if the horse loses, then I don't lose nothing, but if the horse wins, I actually make £2.48, so I'm not too concerned. Now on the BetAngel Professional, if you've actually chose the Professional, you've got what's called in-play trader. So you see this red circle here, if you click that, just pull that in, it gives an idea of where the liquidity is in the market. Now you'll see the first favourite here is at 2.78 and it's way ahead of the other horses. Now that doesn't mean that in the physical reality that horse is way ahead on the racecourse. It doesn't mean that. All it means is the bulk of the liquidity is on that horse. And that can change if it's a hurdle race, if this particular horse has a bad jump, and let's say it falls back slightly, then you'll see liquidity falling back. If one of the other horses has a good jump and maybe catches a few meters ahead of one of the other horses, then liquidity will rise accordingly. So this is not the physical reality of where the horse is, but it shows you liquidity at that moment in time. Now the horses that are doing well, you tend to see the liquidity at the front. So if you see on this horse here, obviously the yellow is right at the back. Now, and I just know the yellow dot is near the front, which means the bulk of the money is being traded on this horse, as well as Under the Sky and number 2 there. So these 3 horses will be doing fairly well in this field. But it's just an indication, it's not an exact science, and it's definitely not the physical reality of where the horse is. But using the in-play trader is fantastic, because it is a useful guide. Because coming to the end of the race, for example, and you can see I just know is at 1.3, then you know it's nearly finished and it's about to win. But that doesn't mean one of the other horses cannot gain a decent jump and catch that horse up. But it's a guide, and it's a useful guide, and it's one that I use every day. So if you've got the professional version of the software, I advise you use this. Something else I've mentioned on one of the other videos that I use is, if you've traded £5, then on betfair.com you can actually watch a live stream. Now this is extremely useful, because on the software, BetAngel software, you can see the clock, and there's a countdown clock, so you've got the last 5 minutes. Now if that then gets to the last minute and you're thinking, oh, I need to cash out now, I need to cash this trade out, cash this scalp out, if you've got the actual live feed up, then you can see how close the horses are to the start of the race. And in quite a lot of instances, even though it's saying 30 seconds to the start on the BetAngel software, by watching the feed, the live stream, you can see that it's nowhere near starting. And that means you can leave your scalps in the actual marketplace and make additional income. And that's very useful to have. And it's free. As long as you've spent £5 on a trade, then Betfair.com allow you to watch their live stream. And it's very useful, because if you're in a no-lose situation, which I am on this particular race, I can see if the horse loses, I don't lose anything, but if it wins, I actually make £2.48. But you can see on the actual software itself, the current profit is £1.14. Now the closer, I've traded the favourite, as you know, so the closer this horse gets to the winning line, the more profit I will make. As you can see, the actual profit is going up. So I can now decide, if I wanted to, I could cash that out now and still make more profit than I would have done scalping, even if the horse still loses. So it's very useful to see. The horse is getting closer to the winning line, so my profit's going up. Now that doesn't mean it's going to win, but it's still more profit than I had made if I'd have cashed out during the scalping stage before the race started. So now I'm in a higher profit position. So I could click this and cash out and make more money than I would have done scalping, even if the horse still loses, which is very useful to know. So I can make a maximum here. So you do a mental calculation. I can make a maximum of £2.48. I was at a profit of about, I think, £1. No, I think it's about 78 pence. So I'm obviously more of a profit at this stage. So if I cash out, I'd have made more than I would have done in general scalping. Now it's useful to watch because this is a 3-mile novice handicap chase. So it's a long race, this one. So there's no rush to cash out. But it just gives you an idea of using the system I've mentioned on some of the other videos. That if you allow the race to go in play, if the favourite wins, you actually win more than you would have done scalping. And it really is a great position to be in. And you can watch, as well as watching the in-play trader. So you can see now, number 2 was catching that horse up, which meant its liquidity on the actual symbol increased. Now it looks like the favourite's going to win. So the profit I would have made scalping is now increased. So if I scroll this down, if this horse wins, I should make about £2.48. And it looks like that's going to happen. So I've actually more than doubled my profit now. And it's about to finish. 1.01 is the finishing odds. So I've actually made, I would have made about £1. I think it's about 80 pence. So by letting the race go in play, I couldn't have lost anything, as you can see on the ladder. But by allowing it to go in play, I've actually nearly tripled my profit. And as you can hear there, the race is now finished. So I've actually made, as you can see there, about £2.50. If any of the other horses had won, I'd have made nothing. But because we are backing favourites, there's a high chance that the horse we're scalping, where we've got a no-lose situation, is going to win this race. And it only needs to happen 2, 3, 4 times a day, which is highly probable, to actually triple the profit. So if I'd have cashed out during the scalping stage, I'd have made about 80 pence. Now because I've allowed it to go in play, I've actually nearly tripled that profit. And there's no risk, because if it hadn't won, I'd have won nothing, I'd have lost nothing. So I've actually gained a free bet there. So it's always useful to look out for these situations. And that's a decent profit. £2.50, which is not too bad. Okay, I'll put the next race up because I want to explain a few more aspects. Okay, this is one of the next races. Now, something else I want to explain is, depending on the odds of the particular favourite, will obviously decide how much profit you're going to make. So on this horse, the odds are set at 1.63, as you can see here on the in-play trader. So a tick price between 1.64 and 1.63, so the back trade and the lay trade, is obviously going to generate less profit than, say, the second favourite's price at 4.6. So the lower the price goes on the favourite, the less profit you can make. Now you can manipulate this by increasing stakes, by just entering the back and entering the late stake, you can increase that, which means more profit will be generated. But generally, the higher the price, the more profit on the same stake. So if you're only trading with £50 stakes, you want to make more profit, then ideally you want to be looking at higher prices. If I place a trade either side of this here at 1.64 and 1.63 on this favourite, then obviously I'm not going to make a great deal at £50 stakes. I may make 50 pence. It's a static line. So this is a perfect situation for a make market. It's a static line. It's not erratic. There's no moving up. There's no moving down. So if I do a trade either side of there, then you'll see gradually the price will be eroded and my trades will get taken. That's the whole concept behind using the micro charts to make a scalp. And you can see the back trade has been taken, so we then wait for the lay trade to get taken. Now you can see the price has drifted slightly. So as I mentioned earlier on this video, what I do is I actually get up a separate chart, and you can see the price started at 1.63 quite a while ago. If I zoom right in, it actually started much lower than that, maybe 1.52, and it's drifted up, and it's now at the highest point it's been, and it's continuing. Now that says to me that this price is going to steam down at some stage, because it's a massive favourite, this one. So the chances are the price is going to steam down. So if I'd not done that static trade when the micro chart was static, I would now be looking at the price to reduce. So let's assume this trade wasn't here. In actual fact, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to cash that out, so I'm in a losing position. Okay, so I've actually made a loss now of £2.5, and the price is at the highest point it's been. So this is the way I generally trade. The price is at the highest point it's been. So now I'm looking for the liquidity on the lay side to reduce. Once it starts reducing, that means the pressure on the back bet side is increasing. Now you can see here the percentages. 85% on the lay side, which means the price is being pushed up. So once that reverses and the price starts being pushed down, I look for the liquidity on the lay side to reduce, and as soon as that starts reducing, it means the price is coming down, and that's what was happened there. And you can see on the candle chart the price is starting to drop. So it reached a high point it's never reached before, and now it's dropping down, as you can see there. So that's the general kind of scalping that I do. I'm looking for trends, so the price can drift and the price can steam, but I generally only place the trade when the price has actually drifted up to a point it's never been before, and that happens in most races. And if not, then you can use the static scalping. So I do this by the price is coming down, so I'm looking for the liquidity on the lay side reducing, which means the back bet price is being pushed down. So if I now place a trade here, once that price reaches 1.64, then I'd make 9 pence. This is just an example, but it's a good indicator that obviously this is a low priced favourite. So you're not going to make a great deal on such a low price. It's a massive odds on, to be honest. But it does show you the two types of scalps. So the micro chart, we're looking for a static line, and if the price drifts considerably and it's the favourite horse and it's reached a point it's not been before, or even if it reaches near the point it's not been before, you can catch that trend when the price starts to drift to steam down. And the reason it will steam down is because in the last 5-10 minutes, as I've said quite a few times now, the bulk of the liquidity will drop. I mean, the bulk of the liquidity will enter the market from all the punters, the gamblers, and they're generally going to back the favourites, and they're going to back it to win, which means the price is going to drop. And you can see now that the price has dropped, so I've actually turned a losing position into a profitable position because the price did drop. Now if I get that candle chart up again, you'll see it drifted up to a point it's not been before, and then it steamed all the way back down. It became fairly static, and now it's starting to rise again. So there's a potential of an opportunity here. So what I would do is watch the liquidity on the lay side to reduce, which means the back price is pushing it down, and that's what's happening there. You can see that. You can see it reducing. So if I place a trade there on the back bet, and a trade on the lay side, the trend should continue, and it has continued, and you can see the lay trade was taken as well. So that's what I'm looking for, and the reason my trigger point was the price was dropping. It reached a point much higher than the static line, which is about here. So because the liquidity was dropping on the lay side, that told me that the price was coming down, because the bulk of the volume of money entering the market was on the back bet side. So I'm then watching for the figure on the lay side to reduce, and once it reduces sufficiently, that's the trigger point to place the back trade, because that means it's about to drop even more. So the back bet gets taken straight away, and then you can place the lay side on the opposing side and complete the scalp. I wouldn't say this is more advanced, but it's obviously more advanced than the one click, the make market, and watching the micro chart. So watching the candle chart, you can see it's risen again. If I get the other chart up, you can see it's drifting all the way back up again. So there's another potential opportunity here. So you'd watch the liquidity on the lay side reducing, and once you can see the price coming down, you jump in, and you're actually riding that price coming down. It becomes static slightly, so you just watch it. You watch the figures on this side. Once this reduces, it means the pressure on the back bet side is going to force the price down, and that's when you place your back bet. So you're always watching the candle chart, you're always watching the price, you're always watching the clock, and you're always watching the liquidity and watching the figures and seeing which way the price is likely to go up or down, and that's always dictated by money entering the market. So I placed another trade there, because I definitely expect this to come down. There's 2 minutes left, so I will place this at 1.68, and then it's a case of waiting. It's definitely now at the highest point it's been. Well, it is now. So it may rise slightly more, but it should come down again. Now in general scalping, I wouldn't have placed that trade at that moment in time because it's too close to the off. So general trading is 5 to 10 minutes before the start of the race, and then it gives you ample opportunity to ride any drifts and any steams. But I've done this to show an example. I'm only using low stakes. Now just to show you what I mean by the live stream from betfair.com. The race has gone in play. I'd already cashed out, so I made 10 pence. It was just an example really of how the prices steam and drift. Now just to show you, I actually cashed this out for 10 pence before the race started, but I've actually got the live stream from Betfair showing this particular race. Now if I just pull this in, you'll see it's a decent stream and it's well worth having up, and it's got volume on. You probably hear that. So if the race had not gone in play, and let's say the software is saying there's 30 seconds to go, and you've still got your scalps in place, and if you're thinking, well, I need to cash out now, I need to cash out, if you're watching the stream itself, the live stream, then you can see if the horses are nowhere near the starting line, then you can keep your scalps in position and make additional profit. So there's no sense of urgency to cash out. So it's useful to have. And I've already said, all you need to spend and all you need to trade is £5. And even if you're using BetAngel software itself to place your trades, if you then subsequently get betfair.com up, go to this particular race, and then click on the live stream, as long as you spent a £5 to trade, then you can get the live stream up. And it's very useful, it's free. There's some channels online that charge a premium for the racing, but betfair.com allows you to do this just for £5. So I hope that explains in a bit more detail how I look to trade. You've got the make market one click when there's a static line, and then you've got the more manual method of actually watching for the pressure points and watching the liquidity and the price drift up and steam down and looking for the entry points. The other videos will show you in more detail how to do that, and then it's just a case of practicing. So always have a separate candle chart up, and it shows you detail, and you can even have the candle chart for the second favourite as well, which is also useful to have. And by clicking the minus figure you can zoom in. So you can have both candle charts up if you wanted. just to give you an idea of how the market's reacting to liquidity entering the market. And then the candle chart is obviously on the page as well, and then you've got the clock, you've got the liquidity you need to watch for, and that's about it really. Then it's a case of practicing, watching my other videos on this and learning how to do. And then you've got the advanced strategies, which I don't advise at this stage you jump into. You need to learn the basics. So I would start with the one click on the make market, and then look at the manual, watching for the pressure points, the drifting, the steaming, and actually scalp manually. And that's probably the best way to go ahead. And once you become more confident doing that, then you can maybe increase your stakes and look to make even more profit per day. Once you get to the videos which are more advanced, you'll see that you don't necessarily need to trade more races per day. You can trade 2, 3, 4, 5 races a day and still make about £50 to £100 per day with higher stakes. But at this stage, obviously, you're learning, so you need to use lower stakes and practice, and you may at this stage need to complete more scalps or more races. But as you progress, then your competency level will increase, and you can increase your stakes and reduce the amount of races you need to scalp to make actual more profits per day. And one of the videos I did last night, I think I made £78 in 4 races, which is about £550 profits a week. And that's just doing 4 races with higher stakes. Okay, thank you.